Hey guys, so I've been sitting on these videos for a while, but I've been meaning to show some uses for Tigra outside the traditional, um, you know, make projectile specials miss. I feel like that's a really well-known use of her, but what I'm trying to show off with this fight is that anywhere that you can heavy counter, she actually works really well anyway. Notice I lost that initial sense, but it doesn't matter because I can get it back with the L1 and I'm just baiting those heavies. I dueled a fair amount to make sure this worked, and right here to make sure that I had that counter against the L2, but notice how much damage the Rupture is doing just from that. I did use the regen boost to make sure this was safe, but as you can tell, since it's worn off, I was really in no danger. She just completely handled that fight. It's not maybe the most dangerous placement on Path 9 and Tier 2, but she still was a great counter for it. So here we have Invisible Woman, who also, in my opinion, is not a particularly dangerous placement on this path, but I know that a lot of people do have trouble finding openings against her without just baiting heavies, and sometimes if she doesn't back up and let you hit her block, it can be difficult to trigger her invisibility safely and to cause that miss without just eating a full combo. So one way through that, if you're using Killmonger, is to use the L2 like I did there, make sure that you are not blocking attacks to find openings because you're just using the step backs. I did block one there. But what that means is that right there where I miss, even if she had decided that she wanted to do a full combo into me after I triggered invisibility, it wouldn't have been a big deal because the first two hits would have been completely blunted. Killmonger also has crit resistance, so even if she had done a full 5-hit combo, I would not have been in a lot of danger here. Now, the other way that you can trigger invisibility safely, notice this time I'm a little safer, is, let's see if I end up doing it, or am I just going to hit her block? Or am I just going to mess up the step back? Okay, there I ended up hitting her block. But when she uses her special one there, it is possible to counter that quickly and then back off such that you will trigger the invisibility, it will miss once, and you still have time to block a retreat without her being able to attack you. So if you keep those like three things in mind, she's really not a big deal, especially for someone like Killmonger. Now here we have, Apocalypse, who's one of the classic Tigra matchups, but he's not on the boss node here. He's actually not even stun immune, but they put him on a node where it's a bad idea to stun him, right? So we're just going to play the normal way. That actually wasn't ideal because I didn't back up before throwing the L2, but I worried that if I did, he would throw his L1, and I wanted to make sure I landed it. But big thing here, we're just going to keep doing the heavy combos now that I've lost those starting senses, because she's still not that high sig. I want to get at least the Hunter sense back up so that I can do the extra damage on ruptures. I intercepted him there not because I necessarily need to, but because every time you can back him up into the corner, it increases your odds of being able to do heavy counters the next time he does something. So notice that on a non-boss node like this, Apocalypse just comes right down. Tigra has so much DPS that there's just nothing he can do. Even if I had eaten a full special here, it would have been safe. But as you can see, the block damage required to bait out those few heavies, just not that big a deal. So next we have what is not by any means the prettiest Annihilus fight I've ever taken. But in addition to showing how I open these fights with Claire and how I think she can salvage them, this is going to kind of give some ideas on how to do this matchup when things don't go perfectly. So at the beginning there you saw that I do the step back, I do the light, I do multiple hits, I use up all my charges actually. Um, and then I throw the L2 to get that buff immunity. I let him hit into me. I'm not going to parry him just because I don't want to be in the habit for the node, but it's not a big deal either way. Now there, I should have thrown that L2, even though I know it would have taken him orange, so to speak, and meant that I blocked his L2. It would have topped me up, it would have applied the buff immunity. It just would have been safer because he was going to get his second bar of power anyway. So now I'm just in the corner, waiting for him to throw it. But I can afford to do that because I'm healing from willpower. I know that he will eventually. I've also played Annihilus enough that I'm just not that afraid of his heavies in the corner. Alright, there we go. Now I'm finally getting attacked. And rather than try and deal with him, get him out of the corner, I just throw the L3 to back him off. Now the important thing here you'll notice is that I'm not entirely sure why he has the icon for his rod and his Furies, honestly, but the important thing is that he does have his Furies, which means I do not have to be that aggressive. I can wait them out, and Mystic Dispersion will give me my L2. There we go. Now, okay, yeah, I do throw it. I'm keeping his power under control. Yeah, I can stun him. Like I said, I don't want to make a habit of it, but it does work. Now there, I back off. I trigger the Stifle. I get that Unstoppable. But with Claire or some other Mystics, that's really not that big a deal because then it expires, it's short duration, and you get power from it. And with Claire, that's just likely to take you to your next L2, and then you turn off the whole problem. So like I said, not awesome, but it worked. Alright, so now we have Killmonger against Modok on the boss node. He is my favorite option for this. I know not everyone agrees with that. Falcon works fine, Mole Man works fine, but I think Killmonger is the best combination of DPS, countering the auto block, and just tankiness. He can take a hit really well if he needs to. So anyway, the strategy here is through whatever means makes sense, push him to his first bar. Doesn't really matter how you do it. Blocked hits, intercepting, getting short combos. Just don't finish combos against his auto block. But once that's done, you can easily get the True Strike up on that first special, and by then, you pretty much have it down. So I back off there because you don't want to push him to his L2 because it's not that it can be countered, but it's just harder and it's not worth it. I like to spam the special 1 in this fight just because I find the counterpunch charge is really helpful for getting me openings, and I don't feel like you really need the indestructible charges. They can certainly be nice if you eat a special like that right there. I actually didn't even mean to use the indestructible boost here. It was my last one. It was very sad when I accidentally clicked it while scrolling. But it did come in handy, and if you feel like having that security without using the valuable boosts, you can always just push to Killmonger's L2 once, throw it, and you shouldn't really need to burn them all that much otherwise. But like I said, I tend to spam the L1 here, keep those counter punches up since they do expire, push to a decent number of bleeds, and then start working towards the L3. I have something of a habit of throwing at least one more special one than I need to before starting that climb to the L3, but I don't really think it matters. As you can tell here, we have more than half of our time left. He's coming down. I haven't even used the big bleeds yet. And also keep in mind that this is actually a better pace than it looks like because we spent the first chunk of the fight just hitting his block and not doing anything. This match is completely solved. And actually, in this one, unlike the other Modok boss kill that I showed, I believe I don't have the torch synergy, which means I'm not placing bleeds as often. So this is without any synergies or help really at all. This is just Killmonger. No suicides, minimal boosts, no synergies. He controls this fight this completely with almost no help. Now watch this bleed damage. I hit him again after this because it's fun, but it's not necessary. When he dies, he still have most of the duration left on those bleeds. 15,000 per second. Good game. See y'all next time.